you would find a piece of paper over there in front of you. Would you please take one each? If you don't have a pen or pencil, I think it is also provided for you. We'll have a test. It's called a surprise quiz. Everybody one with a pen or pencil with you, all right? Because you need to write something. Okay, Glenda, can you pass two upstairs? Thank you. Everyone's ready? Ready, huh? No cheating, huh? Okay, don't look at your neighbor's paper. Okay, if you are ready, my brothers and sisters, I want to begin by asking you to write the date of your birth on the left side of the piece of paper. An example would be like this: 5th September 1970 on the left side of the piece of paper. 5th September 1970 is an example. If you have written, just look up, then I know you are done. Unless you forgot when you were born. That can happen. But I believe you know when you were born. Now, you have written the date of your birth on the left side of the column of the piece of paper. Brothers and sisters, I want to tell you that there are two dates in each one of our lives that are unchangeable. There are two dates in each one of your life. These two dates are unchangeable. One date is the date that you have already written on the piece of paper. The other date is the date when you will die. The one that you have written is the date that you were born on this world. The second date that you can do nothing about, that you will come across. And of course, you will never know. Only those whom you leave behind will know the second date. These are the two dates that you can never do anything. You can do nothing about to change. It doesn't matter what you do. So let me ask you, do you know why? Do you know why these two dates are unchangeable? Why are these two dates the fact of life in each one of our lives? Let me tell you why. And it is simply because God tells us in His Word. In Ecclesiastes chapter 3, this is what God's Word tells us. There is a time for everything, a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be, watch that word, born, and a time to die. You have heard the saying that we are born to die. Well, to a certain extent, it is true we are born to die because of sin. But the other reality is also when we look into the scriptures, God tells us that we don't and we really never die. Yes, we may die on this earth, but we live again. So yes, we are born to die. That is true on this earth. But in terms of our soul, we don't die. We continue to live on. So you can't change the two dates in your life because God has a fixed timetable for your life and mine. God has already beforehand fixed your timetable. When you are going to be born and when you are going to die. But today I stand here not to tell you the fact of life of these 2 days. I stand here today to tell you that there is something, that there is one thing about this timeline that you and I have control over. And let me introduce to you what that is. It is what we call the dash. It is the dash that you have control over. The dash in between your date of birth and your date of death. The dash. You see, the little dash that we write on people who have died when they were born, dash, and then when they die. This little dash, it may seem insignificant, but it holds immense value. Because it represents every moment, every decision, every relationship, and every opportunity that has been given to you while you were here on this earth. So you know what this dash is. The dash is your life on this earth. And you, my friend, you are still in your dash. You are still in your dash. Now, I want you to again look back into your own piece of paper. You have written the date of your birth. I want you to now draw the dash on the right side of your date of birth. Up to you. Some of you may say, I don't want to die. So you just draw a very long dash until the end of the paper. See, I'm not going to die. I'm going to live forever here on this earth. Well, you and I may want that, but that's not the reality. So you can draw small, or it's up to you how long, up to you. But draw the dash on the right side of your date of birth. If you are done, I want you to take a hard look at that dash. Zoom in at that dash that you have drawn. As you zoom in and you look into your dash, I want to ask you to reflect on this. What are you doing with your dash? What is happening with your dash? I want you to reflect today with me as you listen. This simple question: are you merely existing in your dash? Or are you truly living your dash to the fullest? That when your second date comes, you have no regrets. You say, I have lived to the fullest. With all my ability that I could, with all the intentionality that I could, I have lived to the fullest of my ability. And praise be to God. Are you merely existing or truly living your dash? I want you to think on that. I want you to reflect. Are you making the most of the time that God has given to you? Or are you letting it slip away with the busyness of your life? Because we are all busy people. In the world, do you know, Singaporeans are the most busy people in the world. I think God would understand, so it's okay. Nah, I'm just kidding. But I hope that, well, thanks for the music. I need some kind of music. But I think this is a serious question that you and I need to reflect. If we are merely existing or living the dash. Today, as you reflect on that, please keep reflecting on that. And as you do, I want to share with you two very simple yet powerful encouragements about your dash. Here's the first one. Live. Don't just exist in your dash. Live. You don't know how long your dash is going to be. So live to the fullest. Don't just exist. Well, life can be so demanding. Life can be so challenging and so busy, especially here in Singapore, that if we are not careful, we might find ourselves simply existing in our dash. Now, what do I mean by that? Simply existing in our dash? Well, I think it would mean just going through the motion of life, right? You got to wake up, go to work, do all the things, come back, eat, sleep, just do the next thing. Oh, if you're a student, just make sure you pass your exam so that you can go to university. Make sure you pass your university so that the next season you just wait for it to do your, be in the career. Once you start your career, the next thing, okay, I need to get married. Okay, after you get married, okay, I think I need to get a children. Okay, after you get children, then maybe I need to wait for the children to grow up. After that, I want to play with my grandchildren. No, so cute. And then after that, you retire and then you just wait for your second date. Going through the motions, merely existing in your dash, it means that your life is all about just earning a living. Earning a living so that you can storm the weather that comes, inflation, and you need to feed yourself, you need to feed your children, you need to think about your retirement, and so on and so forth. Now, I'm not saying all these are bad things. These are good things. These are part of our life here on earth. What I'm saying is that merely existing in our dash means we make life's goal just to survive. But I want to tell you that God gave us life. God gave you life. A certain kind of life, a specific life, a life that was bought out of a life. His Son Jesus Christ on the cross. You and I have life that is beyond the power of human capacity. God gave you that life. Well, it's just a matter of whether you want to accept it or not. That's up to you. But the matter of the fact is God, the Creator, has given each one of us life. Life that is meaningful, life that is purposeful, life that is not just merely existing, but life to the fullest. Life that can satisfy. Life that can make a difference in other people's life. God gave us this life through His Son Jesus and empowered by the Holy Spirit to fully live. So living our dash would mean to seek God's will. Living our dash would mean, therefore, to pursue His will. Seek His will. Pursue His purpose. Even in the midst of the ups and downs, and especially in the midst, amid the down moments in our lives. That's right. Because if God has given us the life, then the life can happen not only when we are on our mountaintop, but even in the deepest valley. And so when we seek God's will, when we pursue His purpose in our dash, we can make a difference. We can make a difference in our own lives first, and we can make a difference in the people, with the people around us, and even in this world. That when we live this world, we make an impact. And when we do that, it will all be for His glory. So living your dash means to seek His will, His purpose, and make a difference that will bring glory and honor to God's name alone. Amid the challenges, amid the suffering, amid the complexities, amid the brokenness that we will experience. That's right. Even in the midst of complexities, challenges, and brokenness. You know why? Look with me carefully again in the passage. It says, a time to be born and a time to die. And then it went on to say, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh. And then it goes on. Do you know what's happening here? Let me tell you what's happening here. What's happening here is this. After the writer says, a time to be born and a time to die. And then the following verses all the way down is simply, these are the things from a time to plant all the way time for peace. These are the descriptions. These are the things the writer is telling us. These are the things that will take place in between the time you are born and the time you die. Does that make sense? So from verse 4 onwards all the way verse 8, these are the things what we will experience in our dash. So I hope that you know, and this is not a truth that you don't know. We all know this. Life is up and down. But I believe we need to remind ourselves from time to time. I hope we understand very well that life includes, in our moment of dash here on earth, there will be moments of joy. There will be moments of sorrow. There will be moments of success. There will be moments of failures. There will be moments of building. There will be moments of breaking. So learn this, my brothers and sisters. And if you say, oh, I already know, embrace it once again. Life on earth, the life that God gave to us, life happens not only when we are on our so-called mountaintop season, but can I tell you and can I suggest to you that life actually, sometimes, life, the very life that God gave to us, can be experienced in the deepest valley. Life that God promised to us, life of peace, life of tranquility, life of that satisfaction, life of that contentment, life of that joy, sometimes ironically can be experienced in the deepest and the darkest moment of your soul, when you cannot see any light at the end of your tunnel, when all that you see is darkness. When, like the psalmist in 88 of Psalm says, my friend, my only friend is my darkness. The only friend now I have is darkness. Sometimes life that God gave us sometimes can be experienced in those darkest moments of our life. Embrace it, therefore. That's living. So one of the greatest lessons I have learned in my life is simply this, that sometimes the greatest way to make a difference in someone's life is not through your successes. That's right. But it's through your brokenness. Sometimes the deepest impact that you can make in somebody's life is not through your skills. It's not through your riches. It's not through your influence. It's not through your successes. But it's through your brokenness. And this brings me to one of my dearest mentors. I have In Singapore, I have two mentors. And the mentor that I'm talking about is Johnson Lim. And I believe most of us who are Shalomites, you know Johnson Lim. And I stand here, of course, today definitely with a heavy heart because Johnson Lim, my mentor, passed away on 28 June. You know Johnson Lim? And of course, I am grieving because Johnson Lim made a huge impact in my life as my mentor. Johnson Lim injured his feet and underwent surgery. But it couldn't heal properly because he was a diabetic. So he went for another surgery for his leg and returned home after being discharged. On Friday morning, which is 28th of June, he woke up without any appetite and skipped his breakfast. At noontime, the helper went up. The helper bought lunch for him because he didn't have breakfast. So at noontime, the helper bought the lunch and went up and went in the house. And she found Johnson lying on his sofa peacefully. Just to give you a picture of what his sofa looks like. That is the sofa. He was lying peacefully, and so the helper tried to wake him up but couldn't, realizing that something was wrong. She applied, CPR, but the helper didn't know because by then Johnson was already gone. I came to know Johnson in the year 2008. I think that was quite a while ago, yeah? And 2008, that was the year where Pastor Anthony and I started our doctoral program, our THD, with Johnson as our supervisor. And of course, for those of you who know Johnson in his earlier days, he was full of charisma. I mean, even when he was here last year, you could see that, Even though sometimes he's off balance, he's still, Shalom, you can do better, and just getting us to be excited about the Lord. But you should have seen him when he was, younger than last year. I mean, in the year 2008, of course, he was really so full of energy. And of course, I was so inspired by his charisma. I was so inspired by the vast knowledge of the scriptures he had. He's the guy who went to Israel, studied Hebrew in a Hebrew college. He is the guy who studied all kinds of languages, ancient Near East languages. He studies manuscript. Is that guy. He's a guy who is known to be a scholar. And so you don't see his name in the regular popular books. You will only see his names in those scholarly books. And of course, I was so inspired by his persuasive and prolific preaching skill, such that I would never miss a seminar or a conference where he was teaching or preaching. But then I realized something. when he started to mentor me, I realized that actually it was his life that made a significant difference in mine. He didn't know, but when I asked him to mentor me, and of course I was so inspired by his knowledge and skills that I was all in to suck all his skills out of his life and have it in me. Because I was so inspired. I'm like, God, I want to be like him. And of course, he reminds me of my uncle, who was a missionary back in my hometown. And I grew up very inspired by my uncle. When I was little, when I was a young boy, I go to church. I always look forward to my uncle preaching. Whenever my parents tell me, your uncle is preaching this Sunday, I tell you, I kid you not, I cannot wait for Sunday to come for that week. When my uncle preaches, he is those preacher, Billy Graham style, Billy Graham's group. You know, you'll pound the pulpit. Nobody can sleep when he's preaching. Nowadays, many people sleep. To be honest, sometimes I watch you sleeping. And to be very honest, preachers get distracted when we see you sleeping and dozing off. Please, Saturday night, sleep well so that you don't distract the preachers. And of course, sometimes we feel quite intimidated. We feel kind of like, wow, I think maybe my sermon's so lousy that he or she is dozing off. But yes, and I always look forward, and since I was a young boy, when I saw my uncle preaching that way, I said, God, when I grew up, I want to be like my uncle. I want to be like my uncle when I preach. I want to do exactly what he is doing, prick the hearts of the people who are listening, and draw them and point them to Christ and his love. But of course, I realize it's like, of course, I would never be able to wear his shoe, and so therefore I'm never like him. But Johnson reminds me of my uncle, because when I saw him for the first time and I saw him how he taught us, and especially, his skills and vast knowledge, I said, God, I want to be like him, mighty in Scripture. He was one who was mighty in Scripture. But when he started to mentor me, I look over his skills. I was not impressed with his skills anymore. Sorry, but Johnson, in fact, when he started to mentor me, I was his best critique of his preaching and teaching. He would always ask me, Ayan, I want your honest, like super duper honest feedback. Tell me. And I said, well, you ask for it, I will give you. And then I'll just give my feedback. Not that I am good, but you ask me my opinion. Everybody's got opinion, Somebody thinks that, you are good. Somebody think I'm good. Somebody think I'm super lousy, So it depends, Anyway, you are asking my personal opinion. I saw his life. And it was his life, actually, despite his scholarly accolades and achievements, his life impacted me the most, because Johnson, you may not know, actually Johnson was a broken man. Johnson was a broken man with a failed marriage and failed ministry in the church in the past. So much so that, in fact, the Baptist community found it very difficult to accept him again. And he has been all alone since then, living all by himself, and so on. And of course, so he died as a very lonely man. But of course, the impact that he left, I think they are tremendous. I had the privilege of knowing his life. I saw where he lived, how he lived. I made the point to visit him. I didn't tell him I'm visiting him. When I reached his block, I said, Johnson, I'm here, so that he doesn't have the choice to say, don't come. And spending time with him at his house, at this space, and at the cafes, I saw another side of Johnson, of his brokenness. And in his brokenness, brothers and sisters, can I tell you, in his brokenness, and because of his brokenness, he was able to relate with me in my brokenness last year during my sabbatical. Two of my mentors, they played key role in the redemption of my soul, in the healing and restoration of my soul last year. One is Johnson, one is Pastor Kirk, and Johnson Lim was one of the key persons. And because of his brokenness, he was able to relate with me, understand what I was going through, and help me navigate through my brokenness. God used his brokenness as an instrument to impact my life, to touch my soul in the deepest possible way, in a significant way. Of course, it would not be fair for me to sum up the impact that Johnson made in my life through his brokenness in just one statement. But if you were to ask me to just try to give it a shot in just one statement, what would that be? It's not fair. But since you asked, I will try. And I think it would be something like this. From Johnson's life, I think one thing that I have learned is simply this, that I am nothing without God's grace, but I'm everything with his grace. Through his life, I've learned that I am really nothing. And by I am nothing, let me just elaborate on that. What do I mean by I am nothing? And this is from Johnson's life. I am nothing means, brothers and sisters, name me someone that you think that person is the greatest sinner that you can find on this earth. And I tell you, that person, I am no better than that person. Name me one person that you think is the most cruel, is a person that God will not and cannot forgive because of what he did, what she did, and so forth. Name me a person, and I will tell you, actually, I am no better than that person. I am as equally sinful as that person, because I am nothing without God's grace. But I am everything, and I can be everything that God wants me to be with his grace. If not for his grace, I am nothing. And that's Johnson's life. So, my brothers and sisters, learn to live. Don't just exist in your dash. Learn to live in both the ups and the downs of your dash. Use the moments of joy and sorrow to pursue God, his purpose, and to make a difference in someone's life in a way that will turn their eyes, that will turn their hearts, that will turn their souls towards the magnificent grace of our Lord Jesus Christ. Then and only then have you lived, I would say, lived your dash to the fullest, to the glory and honor of God, our Maker. So live. Don't just exist in your dash. Here's the second encouragement about your dash, and that is this. Brothers and sisters, live in view of your second date. Live in view of your second date. Look at the date you wrote on the piece of paper. That is the first date. And whether you like it or not, you will have the second date. And do you know what is the interesting thing about your second date? That's right. Nobody knows. You don't know. Your loved one don't know. Nobody knows. And here's the thing. You may never know. Only those whom you leave behind will know your second date. Nobody knows the second date except God. Why? Well, because only God has your timetable. He is the one who fixed a specific timetable for everyone. Only God knows. Because according to Ecclesiastes chapter 3, God has a fixed timetable for everyone. So, we don't know. And for some, guess what? We don't want to know, right? You don't want to know. When you think about your second date, you are scared. And if you are enjoying your life, you don't want to live. You don't want to die. And of course, if you are not enjoying your life, maybe you want to I hope the world will end today, that kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is, we don't know. Only God knows. And for some of us, we don't want to know, or we don't care to know about our second date. Despite that, my brothers and sisters, I want to encourage you today to live in view of your impending second date that is coming. Embrace the fact that our time is limited. Embrace the fact that no matter how young you are, no matter how old you are, accept and embrace the fact that your time is limited. Just because you are young does not mean you are going to live long. So embrace the fact that your time is limited. And let that reality motivate you not to be depressed. No. But to motivate you to live with the sense of urgency, with the sense of purpose, and with the sense of intentionality. My mentor, Johnson Lim, is an example of someone who lived his life in view of his second date. Let me share with you how Johnson did that. Johnson died on 28 June 2024. Johnson prepared his funeral by himself. Johnson prepared his funeral in the year 2019. How did he prepare his own funeral? Well, he engaged a funeral parlor and gave in advance the money, whatever, and said, when I die, I want you to be the one to take care of my body and do the cremation. And I remember the day he told me. And I tell you, he was so excited to tell me. He said, Ion, all done. I said, all done what? All done what? Our preparation for the trip, because we made a lot of trips, teaching trips. No, when I die, my funeral all set already. I'm like, what do you mean? He was genuinely excited that he has already prepared his own funeral. Strange, I thought. But that is my mentor. And that's why maybe I'm strange sometimes to you as well. He not only arranged his own funeral parlor and to take care of his body, he also left a written instruction to his cousin what to do when he passes on. And he gave specific names whom his cousin should inform. And of course, my name was there. Normally, we would think that a person who has already prepared his own funeral would slow down, and wait for the impending second date to arrive, right? But not for Johnson. After preparing his own funeral in 2019, he went on to sign MOUs, Memorandum of Understanding, MOUs for 5 years with several seminaries overseas for us to go and teach doctoral students especially. You see, for some time we have been doing that. He has a bunch of fellows who have been under him and under his supervision, and we have done our doctoral program. And we go and teach doctoral students. We create, or rather we establish doctoral programs in overseas seminaries. We give our strength as a lecturer to them, and they are able to provide the doctoral program, and then we go. There are 5-6 of us, so we take turns every year. We make one trip. So about 5-6 of us, we do about 5-6 modules every year, and that's how we have been helping quite a lot of seminaries overseas without all of you knowing. And so after 2019, he went on to sign more MOUs, and then he was so excited. He already planned. He's a planner. And one of the upcoming conferences is in Semarang this October, which of course he will not be joining us anymore. And he has been planning this since last year. It seems like maybe he knew that he will not be able to make it. About a couple of weeks before he died, he was talking to one of my colleagues, he was talking to one of our teammates, because of his leg, he was limping, his toes were amputated, and he was very slow. Somehow I think he felt that it might be difficult for him to go. Although openly, he always says, I've got time to heal. October is far away. But that moment, he told one of our teammates, saying that if I cannot make it, Ayan will take my role. Of course, he was the so-called the director among our team. And of course, I was jokingly telling my other teammates, I said wow, Johnson, like that, not fair. You want me to take over you, and then he tell you, not me. What is this? And then we were joking. But of course, Johnson has taught me to do closures. During my sabbatical, in my healing and restoration process, God used him mightily in the area of closure. And of course, I will do my closure with him in October. Our last meeting with Johnson was on 26 April to finalize the program for October. He was literally limping but still leading us, as if he was not. I asked him if he was okay, and of course he would always say, don't worry, I still have enough time to heal. But little did he know, there was no time left for him anymore. So you see, my brothers and sisters, the reality of his second date and his deteriorating physical condition did not deter Johnson from living his dash to the fullest. He could have slowed down, but he did not. He did not tell anyone about his condition and how bad his condition was, because he was full of hope that he can make it given the time. He became even more intentional and purposeful in what he was doing. So brothers and sisters, my friends, one of the things that will hurt us the most in dying or in losing loved ones is regrets, right? We don't want to die with regrets. We don't want to lose someone with regrets. And given the choice, all of us want to die without regrets. Likewise, when we lose our loved ones, we don't want to lose them with regrets either. Living our dash, therefore, living the dash in view of our second date will help us avoid some of the regrets, we can. Because we become intentional and purposeful in how we live, in how we relate, and in how we do things in life. Johnson passed away on 28 June. I plan to visit him on Monday of that week. What a timing, eh? He passed on Friday. I plan to meet him on Monday. Monday is my off day. So usually I will meet people. And one of them is Johnson. I will give him a surprise visit in the morning. Because he will never lock his door. So when I go up and I don't see him, I will just make myself at home. And I will wait. And if it takes too long, I will go down at the coffee shop just next to his lift, and I'll just wait for him to pass by, because he will always pass by. So that was what I planned that Monday, but somehow I ended up not going. And of course, as you would know, that's how I missed the opportunity of seeing him one last time. One last time. I didn't know that 26 April, when we met as a group, would be the last time I would see him. Of course, if only I knew, I would have expressed how grateful and how thankful I am for having him in my life on that day. If only I knew he would pass away on 28th of June, Friday, I would have left everything that I was doing on Monday and visited him. Hugged him, feed him, If only I knew. But of course, the reality tells us that we would never know. We would never know. And that's precisely the point, my brothers and sisters. We don't know. We will never know when our last time will be. We will never know when our last time will be to see our loved ones and to see each other. We don't know when our last meal will be. We don't know when our last laughter together will be. We don't know when our last time out together outside having fun with families and friends would be. Brothers and sisters, can I also say this? We don't know when our last Sunday we would see each other in this way. So, live. Don't just exist. Don't just exist in your dash to just go through the motion. Don't just get so busy that you don't live your dash. Slow down. Slow down. Live to the fullest the remaining of your dash. I know for some of us, some good things are happening. And you don't want the idea of having your second date coming. You may not even like, Jesus, don't come now. I'm having fun. Jesus, can you delay your coming? Because I am really having the fun of my life. But even then, the reality is you don't know. And for those of you who are in the deepest valley that you are right now, oh, my brother and sister, hold on. Hold on. Live to the fullest the remaining of your dash, making a difference in people's life in view of your impending second day. For in doing so, we can be more intentional and purposeful in how we live each day. Yes, we can be intentional. We can be intentional in how we live each day so that when our dash ends, and we leave this world for another peacefully, and those we leave behind, that they may find us faithful. That those we leave behind may rejoice in our dash that we lived here on earth with them, because we inspired them to live their lives to the fullest, to be focused on the main thing in life, influencing and impacting them in their lives with our smiles, with our patience, with our love, with our forgiveness, with our generosity, with our time with them, to the glory and honor of God. So we don't know when our last will be. So brothers and sisters, may I invite you, may I encourage you, and whenever we see each other like this, let's rejoice. And let's appreciate one another, because we don't know when that last moment that we can have the opportunity to say, thank you, I thank God for you in my life. The writer of Ecclesiastes ended this way, and I will end this way. Here's the conclusion of the matter. The writer says, honor God and obey His commands. Why? Because at the end of the day, what would matter most is whether you have lived your life in honoring God, lived in His purpose, in His will. Because that will make a difference in your life. That will make a difference in someone's life that will be stuck in their heart, in their life for eternity. So here's how I want to end. Honor God with your dash. Honor God with the remaining of your dash. With the remaining every single day of your dash. So I thank all of you for who you are, for being part of this church, friends, for visiting us. Truly appreciate. I wish I could just say one by one, naming all of you. But I want to say, and not that because I'm going to die, but because I don't know. But because of this, I'm preaching this sermon today. I want to just say that I'm very thankful to God for putting me in Shalom and giving you all, brothers and sisters, as the member of the church that God, the Lord, has asked me to pastor. It has not been an easy road for me, neither for you. But please know that I appreciate fully for those of you who have stayed together and who are still journeying together. I really appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for who you are. Thank you. May I invite you to just close your eyes and just quieten your heart as I invite Yonglun and David to come and lead us in the song.